Man, if you just need one brave boy to grab a bat and smack that kid.
Well, okay. Not a Fitted Podcast. It's your boy Anthony over here, the conservative Chicano, sitting next to my guy Bill, the agent. Across from me, we got the token, we got the bishop. That's Mike and Deshaun. Yo, we just got back from Alabama, y'all. Okay, let's just get straight into it. Hey, let's talk about that barbecue. Okay, Mike Cook, let's start with you, the token. What'd you think of that barbecue down in Alabama?
That barbecue was subpar.
Oh my God, really subpar? Why?
I know they think they barbecue better than everybody else barbecue. West Coast
true.
don't know what they're doing. So we had some brisket. I thought the brisket was okay.
Okay.
We had something called a hoe cake. Okay, but
we did not. Hey, can we clarify? We did not make that name. It was called a hoe cake.
Cornbread hoe cake.
It was called a cornbread hoe cake.
Sorry, that was the whole name. Cornbread hoe cake. I guess.
I only saw hoe cake. I didn't see cornbread hoe cake.
It said cornbread.
Yeah. It was cornbread.
Yeah.
It was terrible. Whoever's idea was
pancake.
It's a pancake. It looks like a pancake, but it's supposed to be cornbread, and it had pepper in it. It was terrible.
And it had a white barbecue sauce, right?
Yeah.
Was it supposed to be barbecue sauce?
Was that supposed to be a barbecue? No.
I thought they were saying it was.
You talking about for the chicken?
Yeah.
Yeah, Carlos was talking about that. They have a white sauce for their chicken.
No, I'm good. Okay, Deshaun, Bishop, talk to us about the barbecue. What'd you think?
Yeah, it wasn't that great. We had one good piece of chicken, and that was about it. The brisket was all right. Everything else was the pulled
West
pork,
Coast, best coast?
Yeah, the West Coast seems like it's a lot better than the East Coast and down south. I mean,
South Carolina had good barbecue.
It is.
South Carolina had good food in general.
Yeah.
That's real. Bill, go ahead.
I didn't think Alabama was known for their barbecue, right? Their food, but I wasn't impressed.
But it's the South.
I thought that's what the South's known for is its barbecue.
Maybe not Alabama, but you got Texas, Memphis.
No, I've eaten in Memphis. I've eaten in Texas.
Yeah,
I've eaten everywhere they've said to eat. I thought it was okay. I mean, honestly, I thought it was okay. But you're right. When I think Alabama, I don't think barbecue, even though it's synonymous with the South. Yeah. But you bring up a good point. Biscuits and gravy, then maybe. Sure. I don't know. Sweet tea. Sweet tea is always good. So, well, okay, let's talk about something now that we got the food out of the way, right? We talk about culture and its influence on the church. You can catch us on iTunes, Spotify, YouTube. Make sure you hit the like button. Make sure you hit subscribe. Even leave us a comment. Where's the best place you've had barbecue at? What state have you been in that the barbecue's good? And trust me, we will pay attention to that. We might even comment back on that one. And then, of course, your boy, when he goes to that state, I'll try it. Leave me the location. I'll come back and give you a fair assessment, right? But we want you to leave a comment and like and subscribe and also share it with people because the whole goal, guys, you know what the whole goal is? Anybody know what the whole goal is?
One day,
Jake might get paid. Yes, that it is. So we were talking about something before we came on, and I thought this was interesting. We ran into people from churches all around the United States, and they were talking about how the standards for the worship team. And one of the standards for the worship team was they don't want nothing flashy. They don't want no runs. They don't want nobody bringing attention to themselves. And Bishop, you took a great liking to that. You said, hey, that sounds really good to me. So please give us your position because somebody even told you a story of a bass player getting a little too creative, a little too theatrical, and the pastor said, get him off stage. And you were like, that's my pastor right there. Not me, but you're referencing that other person like, that's my pastor. I like it like that. Tell everybody how you feel right now. Let's go.
I mean, I like good music. But I like good worship music. But you want it to be good, want people to sing well, but you don't want it to be about them. And so just a balance of that, not a balance of not being a show. I hate a ton of flashing lights, and I love just the way they did stuff there at Church of the Highlands, how they had it worship, how they did their lighting. I enjoyed it.
Okay, but what about the whole part about not being flashy? So if someone's being flashy, you gonna kick them off stage or what? Like, what's your thought process behind that? Why do you agree with that so much?
Well, I kicking no one off stage. I ain't in charge of nothing. So
fair enough.
But if you were,
if I wasn't, I mean that's bold. I mean I'm not Chris Hodges, so it's he could do some stuff I can't do.
Oh. But you agree with that we shouldn't be bringing attention to ourselves and
I do. Well, I mean the big thing that I was trying to express is that he's saying this and he's actually acting it out.
Okay.
And like everyone knew that. You know, you sometimes hear like big pastors on stage, they want to act humble. You're like, are they really humble? But his whole team knew Like, it was instilled in them. This is how we do things here. And it, not for more than him just saying it, but everyone else knew and they see it day to day. It's like, no, what he's saying, he's really living out, and it's spreading through his whole church of like, it's not about us. It's about us worshiping God. So beyond just like, what they're actually doing, their heart behind what they're doing is truly like, hey, we want to point you towards God.
So, Mike, you like that too? You like it if people are just not drawing attention to themselves and theatrics and runs when they sing or runs and riffs when they play and just everybody being more in sync, so to say? Is that your style too, or what?
Yeah, I definitely lean more that way. That's for sure. Because I think if
we had to compare and contrast, less Bethel, more like Church of the Highlands, is that more your style?
Yes. And that, as you guys are talking, I think one of the reasons why I lean more a little bit that way is because what ends up happening that I've seen is that people just start watching.
Oh, okay.
And it becomes
lack of participation.
Yeah, it just becomes a performance where it's supposed to be engaging.
Oh, okay.
And you're supposed to be, part of worship, not watching somebody else sing.
No, that makes sense. Bill, how do you feel about it? Do you have a preference?
I didn't mind. I think either way, I don't mind somebody, bring some emotions out, clapping, maybe jumping, those type of things. I didn't mind. I came from a church where it was hymns only. And so anything better than that.
Look at Deshaun. Deshaun lit right up when he said hymns only.
And so you got lights, you have guitar.
You felt like you was in the club, huh? You felt like you was back in the club.
Right. That's much better than the other way around. There's no emotion to it. There's no clapping, no raising of hands. So I'm good with the worship that brings out, your emotion, connection with the Lord at the time. So
got you. We walked into the chapel at Church of the Highlands. They had just a piano and hymn books. Deshaun said he felt right at home. He said, I could be the campus pastor here. Right here. You like that too?
Oh, that place looked amazing.
Man,
I love our worship.
Okay.
So it's not that I, just prefer a piano and that's it.
Right.
Like I love our worship.
Okay, so I think I'm all by myself over here. I don't mind either. I'm a wannabe artist. I like playing music, and I love all types of music. So I don't mind. I hear what you're saying though, as far as the focus, and I agree with that within reason. So if you are being moved of the Spirit to give an exhortation of a word, then my thing is then give the word.
Yeah, well, point you towards God.
Exactly. As long as the word moves you towards the Lord. And if you're playing your instrument, and remember, David himself walking before the ark literally danced out his clothes. So, I mean, we have substantive scriptures that show that when before the Lord, things have taken place. Prostrate, laid face down, on their knees, hands to the heavens, blowing the shofars, all this stuff, the lyre, the tambourine. I get all that. My big rule of thumb is it just needs to point to Jesus. And even in playing your instruments, I'm cool with the walk down on a bass. I'm cool with the riff on a guitar, as long as, once again, it's with decency and order and it's pointing to Jesus. And I would say I go more towards reserved on all the lights and stuff like that. And I really can't do smoke. I don't mind if it's in the beginning, a light haze, but I can't do all the smoke.
Did they have smoke there?
No.
Oh, I didn't realize that.
No, they didn't. I can't do it. I know some churches do it because it helps the lights. Well, I don't need lights that bad. I can't. I just, my allergies, the whole thing. But I'm okay with that. So this is going to segue into something that I feel like we've gotten a lot of pushback on. And I didn't tell you guys we were going to talk about this, and this is on purpose. But I've been hearing a lot like, hey, when you guys are talking about other pastors, you're judging them. I want to just push back on that a little bit, okay? I have no angst against any pastor. That's why I don't really talk about the pastor. Listen to what I'm about to say. There is no ad hominem here. And you might say, well, what is that? That's when you have no substance to talk about what the person has done or what the person has said. You just simply don't like the person, who they are as the totality of character. I am not attacking Mike Todd as a person. He looks like he loves his wife. He's a great family man. We talk about Mike Todd. We are talking about what he said. You got to delineate between the two. Now, unfortunately, his theology might be creeping into his behavior. So, but I'm not in charge of that. I'm not in charge of his behavior. But I am definitely going to talk about what people are saying because there's heresies. There are things that are gray areas, and that's the whole reason why we started the podcast, is to talk about culture and its influence on the church. So when we were talking about his Easter service, I'm not directly saying Mike Todd is the devil or that he's bad or he's going to hell, but I did say whatever he was trying to do there missed the mark of heaven, and it wasn't gospel. You are allowed to judge the teaching. I hope people judge my teachings. I hope people go, where's that in the Bible? Did he quote the Bible? Or was he just pulling something random out? Well, you need to study to show yourself approved, the Bible says. So we should be questioning certain things. Does that make sense? So we are absolutely going to question what people are saying. So I said all that to say this. Tim Ross, who's, I think, Pastor Mike Todd's pastor. I know he's one of his accountability people because he said it. He has a sermon clip, and we're going to show it for you guys right here. And then we're going to come back and talk about watch the sermon clip.
And it was bread to them. We don't make it rain on booty cheeks. We don't make it rain on strippers. We only reverence one stripper, and that's the one that took off glory to put on humanity and then get butt naked on a cross to die for both you and me. The only stripper I'm in love with is Jesus. And he's the one that puts that bread in my pocket. That bread.
Yes, you heard that correctly. He said the only stripper I worship is Jesus. Now, I don't know where he was. First thoughts, Mike. What was your first? Can you get a first thought?
What happened to reverence? Like, where's the honor? Where's the respect that you would even in the same sentence? Like, that's crazy.
He said we don't make it rain on booty cheeks. That's good. I mean,
people are really trying to be relevant.
So
Deshaun, he doing too much, huh? That brother doing too much?
So what he said, is it inaccurate?
What do you mean? That's complicated.
Is
That's
it
layered.
honoring?
Yeah, but is it?
What do you mean? It was what inaccurate?
So he said Jesus came and he stripped off his glory. It took on humanity,
Which is true.
and he said naked on a cross, but he got up upon a cross.
Yeah.
But
Is
he's
that-
referencing towards strippers.
That's the problem.
And
Yeah.
he's saying it's alike.
Yeah.
So, okay, word by word, if he just said Jesus stripped off glory to put on humanity, nothing wrong.
yeah.
What do we always hear? Context. Got to give us context. Context. Do we not always hear context? What was the context?
He was referencing a stripper at the club and comparing it to Jesus as the greater stripper. I think that's what he went way too far over there. And so, yeah, I think you start with it. You should call that out 100%.
No, Pastor's there, and I'd be like, "What are you doing?"
I don't even know what to say. I don't even know what to say.
No, I agree because he is right that he did strip off his glory,
Divinity.
yeah, and take on his humanity, and it's a sense of like, how could he do that? Take upon that shame in that way. But the thing about a stripper is she's doing this for sinful pleasure. Jesus didn't do that. He did this to take upon sin and took the punishment for sin. So it doesn't make any sense. He's trying to, like Mike said, he's trying to like reach culture too much. You're trying to do something that is not necessary, and you're not giving God reverence in the importance of sin. That when a stripper is on a pole, that the simple act of that, how the magnitude of sin that separates us from God, and he uses that to put that upon Jesus. It's like, it doesn't make any sense. You're just trying to be too reverent in that, and you need to give God honor of what he's doing. That he took upon the shame, but that's not, you don't relate it to a stripper in that way. It doesn't make any sense what he's doing.
So there's that old cliche where it says, I think Mike Todd said it for his Easter service. He said, "We'll do just about everything as close to sin as possible without sinning to reach people for Jesus." I don't think you need to do all that. I just think you're doing a little too much. I think as far as definitely what you said, where's the reverence and contextualizing, I think you could have said that statement in a more reverent way. And I think you could have just said he stripped off, his divinity to put on humanity. I don't think you need to do all that. I don't know. I think sometimes as pastors we feel a pressure to stay relevant. The gospel is always relevant. Mm-hmm. The gospel is always in season. We don't need to do that much. We don't need, just preach the word. That's all we really, Jesus says, I draw, not you draw, but I draw. Not the worship draws, he draws. If we just lift him up, he would draw all men unto him. But this is what I'm getting at. We are allowed, and we have a rightful duty to question that word. That's what I'm saying. We're not attacking Tim Ross. He seems like a great guy. Loves his wife, loves his kids. I'm sure he's doing a great work down there in Texas, wherever he is. But we can't question his sermon. We can't question the techniques. And they're going to say, well, look at the fruit of it. Look at what fruit? Who knows? I don't even know about my own fruit. According to Matthew 7, we're going to be disappointed. We're going to be disappointed and surprised. On that day, many will say, Lord, Lord. And he goes, I don't even know you. We're going to be disappointed and surprised. Disappointed some people we thought really were going to make it, didn't make it. And surprised at some people who did make it, made it.
We got a little appetizer of that with COVID, right?
Oh, for sure. For sure. So I'm just saying.
I think that's part of the problem is if you say, hey, look at the fruit. If you look at the video, everybody's standing up, cheering for him. And so all he's going to do is he's going to double down on these type of, messages out there. They're doubling down on that because of the reactions that he's getting.
Yeah, but it's like, you invite your unsaved cousin or friend to church, and it's supposed to be different than what they get on Saturday. But he's still talking about booty cheeks and making it rain. Like, how is that different? So they leave and go, oh, great. Mm-hmm. I can still be exactly my same way on Saturday night. I don't need to be any different. Like, there's no conviction. Because you're talking about Jesus being a stripper, you're talking about booty cheeks, you're talking about making it rain. Like, your life doesn't have to change. Whereas the gospel is telling you that you do have to change. So I don't understand why. Tim Ross has one of the best messages I've ever heard of when it comes to marriage. Like, his stuff is legit. So why? That's one of the things I was telling Cassandra. I was like, babe, why does he feel like he had to change?
I think we get caught up, though. The culture is so strong, and we're influenced by the things of the world. And I think he said trying to stay relevant and trying to stay trending and all these things to be influencers and all this pressure. Or really, as a pastor, God has only called you to preach the word, to make disciples and preach the word, and you don't need to do all that. That's just my thought, But the whole reason I brought this up is we will unequivocally talk about things pastors say, because if they're not in the Bible, that's the whole thing. We got to call that out and be like, hey, and we're not talking about the stuff that that has been debated for years, women in ministry, that type of stuff. No, we're talking about stuff like this. Like, like when, trans, it's in our name. No. These are biblical foundations, truths that we've held for thousands of years. Need to slow your roll. We're going to talk about it. And we could do that without disparaging and castigating the person. But we can't call that person into question in theology. But we're not saying that person's evil or wicked. We're just saying, hey, what he taught right there was false, and you better not buy into that. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I just want to clarify.
I think you should. Every time Pastor Anthony preaches, I'm judging the word. Because if I'm doing that because...
And you liked that word yesterday, huh? You never heard that word that I said about John?
It was really good.
I told you, that was fresh, boy. Matt's going to use it this weekend, though. Shout out to the people watching this from everywhere, all right?
Well, the reason I do that is because I'm hoping I'll apply it to my life.
Right.
I don't want to apply something that's false into my life. Or if you're just going there just to feel good, then you're like, yeah, I felt good. It doesn't matter. But if you really want to apply it to your life, you should judge this first.
Yes.
And make sure this is something that you want to apply to your life. You don't go into pharmacist and like, what medication you got? Give it to me. No, you make sure you're taking the right thing that will help you. Same thing. Every time you work in the church on Sunday, judge that word. It's okay. Go ahead and judge that word. And if you feel like this is from God, then apply it to your life.
And by the way, if you feel like I'm wrong or I misinterpreted the text, come find me. Like, I'm not above that. See, I don't know if I'm the only one who says that, but I'm really not intimidated or scared or put off by it. If you feel like I've misinterpreted the text, come talk to me. Let's sit down. Let's have a conversation. But that doesn't put me off. I don't get nervous. Yeah, I study to show myself approved, but as pastors, we can miss it, even through an illustration or an application. That's why I even set it up yesterday. Say, listen, I had to call Pastor Matt. We had to walk through this. We had to talk through it. Is this heresy? Is there some semblance of truth here? Is this possible? It's okay. But we are to do that because we are supposed to be applying it to our lives. Come and follow me meant something when Jesus told you that. It wasn't just raise your hand, say a little prayer. No, this will cost you. This is it. This is going to cost you everything. So, no, do you agree with that? Like, we should be judging that word. Is this for us? Right?
Yeah, because this is what Paul said. No, follow me as I follow Christ. You should be wanting to follow your pastor. You should be willing to follow them wherever they lead you. But you need to make sure they're still following Christ. But are you looking at your pastor in that way? That, hey, wherever my pastor's leading me, who I decide is going to be my pastor, that I'm going to follow him down that road. Or you're just saying, he's just the guy up there that speaks. I come every Sunday. And then you don't care what he says. You're not really paying attention. But if you're really looking at what a pastor's supposed to do to lead you and guide you, you should be judging them in that way. And you're like, man, he's on track following the Lord. I'm going to keep following him. I'm going to keep being I'm going to keep being obedient to what he's saying. 'Cause I know he is following God, so I'm being obedient to Christ. But if you're just there for a good time, then you don't care what he says.
I think. What do you think? I think you're spot on.
Yeah, and because I was thinking about some friends of mine that are kind of going through a situation, and I think part of that situation has to do with not following advice.
Okay.
And it's like, yeah, you can come to church every Sunday and you can say that you have a pastor and be led, but sometimes you find yourself going on the hamster wheel and something over and over and over and over and over, and it's because you're not listening to that advice that other people are giving you. And it's hard for us to see it on our end when we see people who you love like going through rough situations.
Right.
Like, hey, if you would have just listened to this advice, like you probably wouldn't be going through it again. And so there is a benefit as well when you are listening to somebody who's got sound doctrine and you are listening to somebody who's pastoring. It is right there. And so I think that's why it also brings into this. This brings more light into what you're saying, because there's such a benefit to being led in the right way, but there's also such a harmful downside to being led the other way. Mm-hmm. And so if you have pastors who are out there leading people the wrong way, you should say something. Yeah,
Bill, I wanted to throw this to you. So I love what they're saying, that if your pastor is giving you sound doctrine, sound biblical advice, why would you not take it?
No, that's a good question. Yeah, absolutely. You should be applying it. If you're believing, you're coming every Sunday, and you're believing where your pastor's leading you, you're believing in this vision, then yeah, you're going to start applying that to your own personal life for sure. I'm just curious when it comes to Tim Ross, Mike Todd, some of these pastors are saying some of these outrageous things. Who's the circle? Who's the people in his circle? And has he allowed that person or those people around his circle to be able to maybe call him out on some things?
You're going to get us in trouble, Bill.
Oh, okay. well, I'm not saying that those folks aren't saying anything, right? Maybe they are.
Okay, that's okay. Okay, I want... I'm trying to do a little dance.
But I mean, you may also be getting to a place where you feel like you're so big you can listen to what they have to say, but you don't necessarily have to honor what they're telling you. Whereas when you're smaller, you may feel like, man, I really got to keep leaning on my elders. I got to really keep leaning on people.
You bring up a very good point. I think both. Okay, if I can thread this,
because they're prominent. These guys are big now.
Let me thread this as best as I can. I think you bring it. Yes, they have a circle, but I think what the token's saying is absolutely true. How much are they allowing them to dictate how they do what they do, right? And how they respond if they get called on something. Mm-hmm. Here's all I know: as men of God, you're only in charge of your own heart. And what I'm going to try to do is I'm going to try to remain moldable and teachable and correctable. Sure. So that's all I can say about that. But you bring up a very good point, that who's overseeing them, and then why aren't they calling them out? I'm going to go ahead and give the benefit of the doubt, because I don't have no evidence that they are calling them out and they are saying some things. But that's up to them to respond. And I think, Mike, you're 100% right, though. You get so big, maybe like, I don't need to listen. Like, people are eating it up. My church has grown. If we only base fruit off of church growth, you're going to be in trouble.
Yeah.
You got to be real careful of that. Okay, it's Not Offended podcast. I got to talk about something else. I got to switch up. Maybe we'll come back around to it. Maybe we won't. But I read an article, and we talk about culture and its influence on the church, and we see a lot going on. More and more churches are doing these drag shows, all this stuff. And I found an article and I watched a clip that somebody you know what? We have that clip. We're going to show you that clip. Some of it's been blurred out. There's some violence in it. You can read it in the headlines. Transgender boy beats up 2 girls after exposing himself in a bathroom in Riverside, California. We're going to show you that clip. If you don't want to watch, just give us 10 seconds and you can tune back in, but watch this clip right here.
Involved a female student and another student who was born male and identifies themselves as a transgender female. Now, it turns out, according to Riverside police, both have fought before. Video shows another altercation between the two, and many people have taken to social media, specifically parents, to voice their concerns, some of them saying that the transgender student is much larger than the other student. Now, that fight was eventually broken up by school staff.
Okay. Welcome back. Isn't that just crazy? This happened in a Martin Luther King school in Riverside. And I know the first things. Well, let's just go. Bill, what was your first reaction when you watched that? Besides that brother was big.
He's a big
That's
guy.
a big boy. I mean, that's big.
Guy,
No. He prefers to be called she. Just
Well,
so-
he's a big guy. The big guy beating up on these small girls. Maybe they're 5 feet tall or something.
Oh,
but
no.
something must have happened for sure for them to be that
well,
upset. and stand up to
he was
him.
exposing himself in the women's restroom, and then pulled his pants down, was exposing, making them uncomfortable.
Yeah, good. I mean, good for these girls standing up to him, but nobody else kind of came to their backing, I guess. But that was a horrible video for sure.
What Bishop? What was your first thought when you saw that?
Man, if you just need one brave boy to grab a bat and smack that kid.
Well, okay. Not a fitted podcast talking about culture, its influence on the church, and
He's a big kid. If you're a small kid, don't get beat up too. Just one hit, knock that fool out.
Okay, Mark.
You can't sit there and just beat up girls because you don't want to expose yourself. I have no sympathy. People get mad at me. I don't care.
You got no sympathy? No love.
sympathy.
No love.
No love. You can be mad at me. That's not Christian-like. I don't care.
Go ahead and put it in the comments, huh? Put it in the comments.
I just saw reading today. Moses killed someone. One of the Egyptians. Yep, sure did.
He did.
Yep.
He murdered him, then buried him.
Yep.
He murdered him and buried him.
Yep. He got scared and ran away. Didn't guy.
Hit him in the desert in Nevada. Pahrump, Nevada. That's what he did. Hit him in the desert, boy.
That's my biblical.
Okay, is your reference
authority.
biblical
My
reference?
yeah.
Citing the Old Testament.
Yep.
Like it. Go ahead, Mike. Follow up on that. Come on, Token. Give us something. Are you going to correct the bishop on this one? What you going to do?
You gonna let your daughter get beat up?
No. Oh man, what's my first response?
Yeah, your
was
first response.
In the video you see like these guys that come and break it up. They look like maybe they were school administrators.
They were
or
school.
something
By the
like
way, they
that.
were dressed
I
for sure. School
missed that.
administration. Yeah, it was right at the end. It was
Okay.
right at the
Yeah,
end.
it's at the end.
I mean, he wearing khaki pants and a polo and a sweater over. That's administration.
Yeah, this is just the beginning. That's kind of what I was thinking. This is just the beginning, and I'm thankful that these girls stood up for themselves. It's unfortunate that they were fighting for themselves and nobody else was fighting for them. But I think this is just the beginning, and the left is going to do everything in their power to make sure that stories like this either don't get out or they spin it a certain way. Oh, he wasn't really in the women's restroom, or he wasn't really doing that. Because they don't want, they're going to try to change that narrative or keep the narrative the same. So all I was thinking was, this is just the beginning.
Yeah, I'm with you, Mike. I think you said a word. They're going to spin it. And so here's the spin that's happening. I think, oh, man, these things aren't really happening in schools, right?
I'm just waiting to see how you're going to spin this right now. Go. I'm all ears.
No, I'm not spinning.
Oh,
I'm saying the media.
yeah.
I'm not spinning. I'm
Okay.
saying the media's spinning it. And here's how they're spinning it. They say, oh, this is just a one-off incident. This is not really happening in the schools. But you'll start hearing a lot more.
You should have heard what they said to him. Her. It. The guy. The dude that was fighting the chicks, man.
I'm lost,
The
bro.
dude who was fighting the chicks.
Okay.
They're going to try to say, well, you should have heard what the girl said about him, and that's why he did what he did.
Yeah.
Oh, well,
Sure.
Yeah. Hey, did they not do that with the gunman who killed the girl who shot up the Christian school?
Christian school, right?
Oh, you know what? We need to pray for her. She dead. What prayer's gonna do? Well, she was just, she was just misunderstood. No, she was tormented by demons. Call it for what it is. Got pastors put it on their Instagram. Pray for her. She dead. What you praying for? And then they want to put them in the same context as the families who got their kids murdered. Man, miss me with that. Get at it. That pastor need to get slapped.
Yeah.
You want to talk about? I'll slap the pastors. You take bets, okay? But I mean, we'll get us. You know what? We'll be sons of thunder. You want a biblical reference? We'll be sons of thunder. Call down lightning, Jesus. Call down lightning.
A slap of correction.
Yeah,
There
it
you
was. It would be a fivefold ministry. So bam. Hey, you know what, man? I watched that video, and first off, good on them girls. Like, and one of them has some hands. I was proud. I was like, she been taking some boxing classes. That brother was big, though. He was big. And I don't care what he wants to be called. He a boy. He a young man right there. And you know what? You're right. I don't know how he was raised, but he wasn't raised right. That's for sure. He didn't have no man in his life correcting him, saying this is not how you treat women. And you know what else? California, pull your head out your butt, letting a boy go into a girl's bathroom. That's why you got problems. Oh, do you don't want to mislabel? Man, miss me with that mislabel crap. If you believe so much of that, build them their own bathroom. Over there exposing himself. We all got daughters. You know what? We're going to have some problems.
That's my thing. If we can't protect girls from boys, like, we have a huge issue. And that's what I was talking about, like, you know, going violent. I don't care. Like,
where are the women's rights activists, Deshaun? Where are they?
Like, if we can't protect our kids, like, we're failing on society completely. Like, destruction is coming. Like, you have to be able to protect your kids.
Look at the video. We're failing. We are. Two girls are trying to. This boy got on top, mounted that girl, and was beating the crap out of her. Where are the young men? Back in my day, we'd have saw that dude would have got mopped up. He'd have got drugged in school. You would have needed every football coach and every administration to come drag us off his sorry behind. And you know what? We'd have got expelled. We wouldn't even care. We'd have been like, that dude learned today. That's all that mattered. Where are the young men who should be protecting these? Man, we got problems. We're failing the kids. We got problems. I'm too passionate about it. We need to move on. You talk about getting it back. Let's go get best. I don't even know what to say, man.
Could have had a girlfriend. Saved her. Could have had a girlfriend. There you go.
Yeah. Homie out there talking about he ain't got no girl. All he had to do was swoop in. He'd have been a hero right there. Man, shoot your shot, son. Not like that, though, but, you know. That was your moment. Not like that. But, you know, this is your moment.
You could have had
basketball shot.
Yes.
Shooting a basketball shot.
Pastor does shoot shot.
Shoot him.
Speaking of that,
Pastor
though.
said shoot a trans.
Speaking of that, let's talk about this. So let's segue. You know, we talk about culture and its influence on the church, right? Let's talk about this. Thought this was interesting. A White House press dinner. A man by the name of Roy Wood Jr. gets up. I guess he's a comedian.
He's a comedian. I heard of him. Mm-hmm.
Have you heard of him before? Never heard of this dude. Never, ever heard of this dude.
Is he funny?
Is he funny?
Yeah, he's funny.
Okay.
He's funny.
I'll
I haven't heard a lot of his stuff. But
They got this B-list comedian. Okay.
Okay.
So he gets up there, and you know what? We have the clip. So instead of us just talking about, watch this clip right here.
And also, speaking of drag queens, can we stop with the grooming stuff? Can you stop talking about that? Drag queens are not at a school to groom your kids. Stop it. And even if they were, most of them kids gonna get shot at school. It ain't no problem.
Man, that's just, I've got no words for that. I'm surprised, as much as the far left and the liberals and progressive always cry about words have meaning and mislabels and all this. Bill, come on. What'd you think of that? They're going to get shot at school.
Yeah, I think he was trying to play on a joke there, but
Is that really funny?
No, it's not funny at all. I just think what you said, the more important part was you saying, you know, drag queens at schools are not grooming your kids, and even if they were, like, he's okay. You know, he was all like, "That's okay. They're gonna get shot."
Even if they were,
yeah. And then people laugh in the crowd. They're like, "Oh, that's kind of funny."
They cheered, they clapped, they literally applauded.
So they're coming to your schools. They're targeting the kids. They're in the libraries and the books. They're going to the schools. That's just the facts. That's what's happening.
I get tired of talking about it. I really do. Like, I'm tired of talking about it, but I have to keep talking about it because nobody's talking about it. This is the White House Correspondents' Center. This is where your politicians are, and they literally laughed and cheered that drag queens aren't groomers. What you guys have a thought on that? Besides your kids will just get shot at school. We make light of that because remember, and they're the ones that tell us don't pray because prayers don't do anything. Keep your prayers and your good thoughts to yourself. But yet they want to make a joke about it.
It's crazy. That I just recently saw that video, so I'm still kind of processing it. I think one of the things that sticks out to me is that the left is okay with being able to say whatever they want to say, whenever they want to say it, and to whoever they want to say it to. And they don't need to apologize for it. They don't need to... They just have a green light to do whatever they want. And this is a perfect example of it. You have the President of the United States signing off on whoever gets that microphone.
You're right.
If you were to have somebody come into the church, every person who gets that microphone, you sign off on it.
Yeah, and if you don't like it, you better come back and clean that up.
Right. So was there any type of cleanup?
No cleanup. I don't know. What do you think, Bishop?
Yeah, if you remove God from a culture, you're going to keep seeing things decay. Especially if you remove God out of men's lives, you're going to see all kinds of sexual deviances that go all different types of ways. Every guy knows this.
You're right.
You always got a friend that's like, man, he's crazy. Like, he's doing way too much. And you let people go, you remove God from that, you're going to see that. You have grown men dressed up as women want to be around little kids.
Mm-hmm. We're going to talk about that. Hold that thought. We're going to talk about that in just a second.
And so he makes light of that. He makes light of, like, no one wants to see kids get killed. The left or right. No one wants to see that. And the fact that you make a joke about it, it shows this lack of, like, care. Just like, I just want to win the argument. I just want to put down the other side. I don't care about
at all costs.
At all costs. It doesn't matter. How can I make the other side look bad?
Go ahead.
No, you said, because it hits you when you describe it in that way. Like, there's grown men dressing up as women going and performing in front of kids. There's grown men dressing up not just as women in their clothes that they're wearing, performing in front of kids. You couldn't have women dress up the way they dress up to perform in front of kids. Does that make sense?
Okay, hold that thought. We're going to get to that in just a second. But I just want to close this part, and then let's transition there. Mike, what you said was non-debatable. Very important our audience catch this, okay? It's Not Offended Podcast. Catch us on iTunes, Spotify, and, of course, YouTube. Leave a like, comment, share. I mean, let's get this out here. And this is something for you to share right here. What I'm about to tell you is the gospel truth. What you just said about the left can say whatever they want and get away with it is 100% true. Everybody signs off. Joe Biden got up on a national syndicated radio show and told Charlemagne the God, you ain't black if you don't vote for me. Mm-hmm. And everybody dismissed it. Can I just ask one question? If Donald Trump got up on Tucker Carlson and said, and that was the Breakfast Club, okay, and they supposed to be woke and all about black and blackness and black that and black everything, right? I mean, they ran Deion Sanders off for leaving HBCU. Remember they was mad at Deion. They let Joe Biden come on the show with Charlemagne the God, the most outspoken of them all. And he told Charlemagne, well, you ain't black if you don't vote for me. If Donald Trump would have got up on Tucker Carlson and told any black person, well, you ain't black if you don't vote for me, what would have happened? Somebody please just tell me. What would have happened?
Some riots. Chaos.
The racist.
Gotcha.
It would have been a riot in the street.
Yeah.
So you're right. And you know what everybody did? Don Lemon laughed it off. Whoever those people are on MSNBC, CNN, all these things, all they did was laugh it off. They didn't even care about it. So yeah, you're darn right they can say whatever they want. That's why you must hold them accountable. Don't go by, well, I've always voted this way. No, you need to read up on your person. Okay, let's get back to this thing. I had this question. You brought up a very good point. And somebody in the audience correct us, put it in the comment box. I really don't. I don't have this answer. But what is it called when a woman dresses up like a man? Is that still a drag show, or do women dress up as men and do shows? Does anybody know? I don't think so. I don't know.
A woman dresses up as a man. Yeah, I don't know if that's a thing.
But
I think I said the
then
WNBA.
Then why is it then why is it men only dress up as women? And seductively, and you brought up a point.
Sexualized
women
way, yeah.
can't even go the way these drag men are dressed into schools People would have a fit.
Imagine little Timmy's mom dressing up like that and showing up at school.
No, little Timmy mama need to stay home. She ain't need to come in and do all that.
In
No, I don't even know who little Timmy is, but it just sounds bad.
So you're saying.
So what am I saying about? Not about little Timmy though. I ain't saying nothing.
You're saying that you can go get a busload of strippers and take them to the library and have them read books.
That's not happening, Mike. They ain't dressing like that.
Why do I feel like that was a setup question for this side of the table over here? Let's flip that question.
What I'm saying is, Mike's right. This is what they're allowing.
I was going to say, you set us up. Well, he started out with little Timmy.
Right.
I don't know. I don't know if little Timmy's mom is an OnlyFans.
So why is it?
I don't know what's going on here.
Why is it okay for men to do that?
That's what we're asking. No, you cannot go to your neighborhood strip joint, get all the strippers and say, let's do reading hour.
It's educational.
No, and then the books they're reading are perverted. So she cannot read her story. The stripper cannot read her story on how she became a stripper and the famous people she's met. You're not parading the strippers around and doing flag ceremonies.
Why not? Too provocative.
I don't know why not, but I'm just saying it's not happening.
I mean, but what would people say? People would say it's inappropriate. It's not, you're exposing kids at a young age to being
You're grooming the
hypersexualized.
kids is what they're
You're
saying,
grooming.
No, they say you're over-sexualizing.
Yeah, whatever, hypersexualization, whatever they say. But it completely goes out the window when it's a dude dressed up as a chick.
Okay, let's take this a step further. Can someone tell me the first woman who transitioned to a man who's in a men's sport and doing well?
Say that again.
A woman who transitioned to a man and joined a men's sport and is crushing it and doing well.
Oh, no, I don't have one top of my head.
So you mean Brittany Griner's not going to go over to the NBA and make a starting team?
Be negative.
No.
So it's only men going in, transitioning to a woman, and then becoming like an MMA fighter and beating the crap out of girls when they're anatomically built different. It doesn't work the other way. We're not protecting the women. We've thrown the women to the wolves, and there ain't going to be no women left. You need to stand up and do something. That's why you can't allow 1 inch of it in your church. It's wrong. The Bible calls it wrong. Biologically, it's wrong. I don't care if you nip, tuck, or scissor. It is all wrong. It is wrong. You need to get a hold of Jesus. I mean, guys, I'm telling you right now, this is out of hand. And it doesn't work both ways. It is a double standard, and we need to start calling it out. We've got to do a more effective job. This stuff is, we saw the bully, we saw all this stuff. I'm telling you, this is when 0 to 60. The elections are coming up. People need to pull their head out their butt. At this point, I'm not even saying vote the Bible. I'm not even saying vote the conscience. I'm not saying any of that no more. I'm just saying you need to vote right. And I don't mean right as in right. I mean right as in what's right and wrong. Like there's some serious implications here, right? Well, what do you mean vote the Bible? I say vote the Bible. People don't even know what the Bible says. It doesn't even work anymore. Talking about the literacy in the Bible is only at 27% right now. People don't even know what the Bible says. You got pastors going, well, trans is in our name. They don't even know what the Bible says. I don't know what to say. Like, I'm done. Like, I mean, we're in trouble. Like, we need help. I found this. You think I'm lying? Found this. It said maybe we should go back to church. This is the title of it. Maybe we should go back to church.
Oh, I like this one.
Listen to what it says. 34% of Generation Z are religiously affiliated. 29% amongst millennials. 25% amongst Generation X. It is actually went up towards Generation Z, but then you get into so articles, they clickbait you. And you ready for this? It didn't mean they were going to church. It just meant they believed in a higher power. They believe in something religious. Because it's flipped when you talk church attendance. It goes, the Gen Xers are in the 30s. Then, of course, the Gen Zs are in the 20s. And then, the millennials are in the 20s. And then the Gen Zs, or whatever they call the next generation after that, they're like in the teens. But they consider themselves more spiritual. So listen to this. It keeps going on. It's an article I pulled off, and it said suicide has increased with the correlation of religious deconstruction. Go figure that. Suicides have went up. They hit a low between 2000 and 2018, And then they nearly went up back to their peak during the pandemic. And when they said nearly went up to the peak, they said stats are still rolling in, but right now they're a little bit over what their peak was right before the pandemic. And then the pandemic is taking it over the edge. And they're talking about the moral decay of society. And they said, hey, I have a thought. They end the article was saying, I have a thought. Maybe it's time to go back to church. Maybe it's time to believe in something bigger and greater than yourself. Maybe it's time to find a moral compass. What's your first thought on that, Bill?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, we've been saying this for years now. I mean, you take God out of things, and you replace it with these things, and it's been happening since I was back in high school, over 20 years. Last 10 years, and look what just happened in the last 2 to 3 years. What's scary is what's to come in the next 3 to 5 years. How far do we go? And so this is why we speak about certain things here. I think we have to.
You think it's time to go back to church, Bishop?
Yeah, God needs to be. People need to come out to church, and we're seeing right now what happens when you remove God from the culture. You remove God, and you see the decay, how quickly it happens. And we can first talk about ourselves. If we're removing God from ourselves, look at the culture. What's going to happen to you? How far are you going to see yourself in the next 10 years? You're like, man, well, how did I end up here? Well, did you remove God from your life? Realize that get back to church and get God involved back in your life and back into your family. Otherwise, you're going to see decay in your own self along with the culture.
Man, it's just sad. I mean, that's all I was thinking about. It's just sad. People thinking about young people and just the utter confusion that kids. I still see kids with masks on. And, some of them I'm sure like it because they can basically hide. But some of them are also just still hoodwinked. Seeing people who, were faithful and coming to church, whether it be our church or other churches, and just fell off because of COVID and all these different things, and now they starting churches at their homes, or they're doing little Bible studies and things like that. But there's no covering, there's no blessing on their families anymore. And just seeing just the decay of the family. Yeah. And as people who love people, it sucks. It sucks to see, the struggle. Not to mention just the craziness that things have. It's just out of hand. Things are just out of hand.
Yeah, I want to just take a moment and talk to all the leaders, all the pastors out there. And I want to tell you guys, you got what it takes. God has given us the greatest resource that we could possibly have. He has given us his word. And it's with that word that you can conquer. You can conquer any devil, any demon, anything that the enemy throws at you. It was once said that the children of Israel couldn't conquer Jericho because there was a wall. And God brought down the wall. It was once said that the children of Israel were going to be stopped by a sea, but God split the sea. It was once said that Jesus had finally met his match when death took his life, but 3 days later, we all know the outcome. So we have been given this great hope in the Word of God, and Jesus had paid the ultimate price in giving us his life. We have the greatest story to tell, but we need to tell the story. And pastors, fear not that there is a price for this cross, that it is going to cost you to serve Jesus. Fear not that message is palatable to a generation that is hungry and that is thirsty. Pastors, fear not. God is with you. It's not about building a big church. It's about building big people. And the only way to do that is to preach the word of God. Don't worry, because the word of God is just offensive all by itself. So they're not really mad at you. They're mad at God. But know this, there's a remnant of people out there. There are hungry people. There are desperate people who are dying to hear the word of God. And not palatable and not broken down, not popcorn preaching, but giving it to them and letting them know, hey, listen, this is what God requires of you. Why? Because for far too long, people have been walking in church doors, heavy laden, burdened down, feeling restrained, feeling handcuffed to their sin. And they come in and they get compromised worship with the compromised word because it's a compromised gospel. But I'm telling you right now that if you have anointed worship and you have good word where it's preaching the truth of God's word, they will find themselves free. And when a person is freed, they come back and they are like that one leper. They give all praise and glory to Jesus for the great things he has done. Pastor, take hope. God is with you. God is for you. There are far more people who are cheering you on than who are bringing you down. I believe in you. Go preach the good word. Go share the good news of the gospel that there is still a Lion of the tribe of Judah and he's coming back for you, okay? I believe in you. This has been the Not Offended Podcast. God bless you guys. We'll see you next week and we're out. Peace.